So let's start with these draft picks. The draft picks, we need to take a look at what happened and how do they fit with Pittsburgh. Where's the fit with the Steelers and what value did we get? And we'll just start off. Look, Troy Fautanu, a top 10 talent, we got at number 20. Incredible. I just don't know how it's important to let Steeler fans know how good of a draft pick this actually is. And it's not that Omar Kahn or the Steelers organization did anything incredible. So I don't want to go out there and say that, oh, man, they did this and they traded back. And all they did was stay patient. They stayed patient. They didn't move up. When all those quarterbacks started coming off the board, they had to be just licking their chops thinking, we're going to get one of these tackles. One of these guys is going to fall to us. We don't have to move up. There was a lot of talk. The Steelers take a first and a third round pick and try to move up to get one. Well, when you have 6 quarterbacks go in the top 12 picks, you're going to get a tackle. When you know that receivers are going to start coming off the board, there were so many tackles out there. In my opinion, the Steelers got a top 10 talent at number 20. He's a day one starter. Couldn't be better. Outstanding pick for the Steelers at number 20. Moving to number 51, look, Zack Frazier. I was screaming to anybody that would listen that this is the guy that Steelers should have taken. I know people talked about Jackson Powers-Johnson. Again, I'm a believer. 1 year wonders. It's not that they don't work. I'm not saying they don't work. But what I am saying is that he played behind a guy that was a 7th round draft pick. That's all I'm saying. You want to talk about how good he was in college. I just know he's a 7th round draft pick. And he played 1 year at Oregon. Zack Frazier, on the other hand, 3-year starter, outstanding technician, mean, nasty. That's exactly what the Steelers need at the center position. He's good, physical, smart, and it's exactly what the Steelers need. Again, day one starter. Let's not mess around like we did last year, with Broderick Jones and dilly-dallying around. Day one starter. Not to mention, do we have another center on the roster? No, we don't. We don't right now. So he would be the day one starter. I don't care who's on the roster. Bottom line, great pick at number 51. Great value at number 51. I didn't think there'd be a chance he'd be there. And he was. Good for the Steelers. Moving on. Round 3. Now, you talk about some value. Our round 3 picks were incredible. Number 84, Roman Wilson, wide receiver. I've said this from the beginning. I said the day they drafted him. If his arms were another 2 inches longer, he'd have been drafted in the first round. He'd have been one of the top receivers taken. But because his arms are 2 inches shorter, they go by the measurables, and here he is dropping to the Steelers at number 84 in the 3rd round. Hey, good for us, because this is exactly what the Steelers need. Now, I'm not saying that you should always trust a rookie wide receiver, and throwing him out there. But this guy, number 1, has experience. Number 2, he's tough, physical. He does the dirty work. He's an outstanding blocker, has no problems going over the middle, making the tough catches. He can play inside. He can play outside. At number 84, the Steelers got their wide receiver. Again, I don't know if he's going to be a day one starter with everything that the Steelers are trying to do in the trade market to go get a number 1 or number 2 receiver. But if he is, there's worse things that could happen than having Roman Wilson be your number 2. There's worse things out there. I like what the Steelers did at number 84. Maybe the biggest steal of the entire draft would be Payton Wilson. Many people, and I mean many people, had Payton Wilson as the number 1 inside linebacker in this draft. Speed, just plays with an incredible motor. Everybody's seen all the highlights of him with his chase down tackle. And he ran, 23 miles per hour to chase somebody down. 4.4. He's a tackling machine. Now, the injury history is real. I'm not here to tell you that it's not, because it is. But he's played, and everybody points to, he doesn't have an ACL in one of his knees. Well, neither did Hines Ward. Neither did Greg Lloyd. There's lots of guys that have played without ACLs, and they were just fine. This seems to be somebody else that is just fine. Payton Wilson, outstanding player, a value pick at 98 to be able to get the arguably the best inside linebacker on your roster this late in the draft, you're doing good things, people. You're doing good things. 4th round, Mason McCormick. Now, look, I know a lot of people wanted a corner with this pick, but here's my thinking. And I think this may have been the Steelers thinking. First of all, this guy is extremely versatile. He can play all 3 positions of the interior line. He can do that. Second, he's extreme. I mean, if you've seen the tape, we've seen it. Nasty at the point of attack, agile. When he gets to where he's going, he's got a bad attitude. And that's exactly what you want out of a guard/center. Just wherever you're going, get there quick and have bad intentions when you get there. And he has that. Mason McCormick has that. Now, is he going to start right away? No. Is he going to be more of a developmental project? Maybe developmental. We can see that. But James Daniels is coming up, people. He's coming up. Is this last year of his contract? Now, he's only 26, so maybe the Steelers dive into that. But do you want to pay guard? And look, I love James Daniels, but he's not one of the top guards in the National Football League. Are you wanting to go out and spend $9-10 million a year on that? Or do you have his replacement sitting right here? That would be my thing. You've got his replacement unless James Daniels comes back at a bargain. If not, we can move on. We've got his replacement. I love the pick at number 119. Then we didn't have a 5th round. We had 2 6th-round picks. First one, Logan Lee. I like it, 178. He is perfect, in my opinion, for the Steelers' 3-4 defensive end position. Reminds me a lot of Aaron Smith. If he can be that productive, the Steelers got an absolute steal with this pick. Not just a dynamic pass rusher, but has sneaky pass rush moves. I like what he can do. And he is stout against the run. Look, Iowa's defense was really good, and he was a really big part of that, over the last couple of seasons. He comes in and adds depth to what the Steelers already had. And if you're not careful, he may start week 1. Look, it's not a position that the Steelers are outstanding at. It's just not. You bring in a guy like Logan Lee, if he can play like we think that he can, because I think he was underdrafted just like basically every defensive player in this draft was. Steelers got another steal at 178, which is incredible. Last pick, Ryan Watts. I think he's a safety. Now, I know Steeler fans are like, oh, we needed a corner. We need him to play corner. He's big. He's got the size of a safety, and I think he's more of a safety. I think that's where he translates to. Now, does that mean he can't play some slot corner for us? No, it doesn't, because I believe it does. But if you just look at him and you look at what his body of work and how it would translate to the National Football League, I think safety/slot corner is his best position. But I will say this, a little development, if he can play corner, then absolutely. The Steelers desperately need corner. We're going to get in those position battle groups here in just a second, or position groups here, grades. And I just think that Ryan Watts, while I like him, I just think that he's going to fit the safety mold better. Moving on, Omar Kahn and what he did in this draft. Look, here's my grade for Omar Kahn. A+++++. And that's just what it was. The draft was incredible. And the reason that it was incredible is because we got all these value picks, starting with pick number 1, down to 2. And all throughout this draft, it was all value picks without having to give up draft capital. We didn't have to take a 1st and a 3rd and move up in the 1st round to get the tackle we wanted. We didn't have to give up a 3rd round pick to move up in the 2nd round to get the center that we desperately needed. We didn't have to do anything to get a wide receiver off the board, an underrated wide receiver, I might add, based on measurables. We didn't have to do any of that. Arguably the best linebacker in the draft. We got him into the 3rd round, and we gave up no draft capital. That's the whole key. Can you get the guys you want without having to give up anything? The Steelers did that. Their roster is better because of it. We weren't one player away. We got starters. We got day 1 starters early in the draft that got drafted lower than what they were projected to get drafted. That's all you can ask. Omar Kahn, A+. Got to keep it going in free agency. Still got to get a wide receiver. Still got to get a corner. Still got some other holes and some depth needs that have to be filled. But if we are literally just talking about what this draft was about, Omar Kahn knocked this one completely out of the park, people. Like I said, A+, plus. Good job, Omar. We needed it.